Sometimes the story comes out and you can't help but go, wait, did that actually happen? And not surprisingly, a lot of these stories have to do with major celebrities, including the connections that they've had with one another over the years. A great example of this is the friendship between Jada Pinkett Smith and the legendary Tupac Shakur. They actually went to school together before Tupac went to be a rapper out west. And now a story has come out that has Jada asking Tupac to not beat up Will Smith. We'll break it all down for you, but before we do that, go ahead and do us a favor, leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an upload from us. And with that being said, let's get straight into the video. Do you want to win an iPhone 12, maybe a MacBook Pro? How about $500 cash? All you have to do is comment the secret hidden message somewhere in this video. That's it. Oh, and leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel so we can keep affording these giveaways. Winner will be announced at the last day of each month. Thanks for watching and good luck. Number 4, Jada and Tupac. If there's one thing that's always a recurring trending topic, it's speculation about the nature of Jada Pinkett Smith and Tupac's close relationship. As stated in our intro, the two were apparently good friends in school before being separated by distance. But then they apparently met up later on in life and maintained their friendship despite their very different paths. Napoleon, one of the original members of Tupac's rap group Outlaws Immortals, recently appeared on The Art of the Dialogue, where he spilled some tea about the time the late rapper met Jada's now husband in person. The second time I probably heard him talk about her was when he went to LA and he was very upset. Pac came in the room, he was like, "Jada gonna contact me like and tell me, don't do nothing to Will Smith," Napoleon recalled.
Tupac and Jada Pinkett, did you see the unreleased poem that Jada Pinkett shared on Tupac's birthday that Tupac wrote her?
Yeah, I seen the poem, the post that she, her Instagram post.
Well, apparently this assumptive pleading offended Pac because of his deep respect for Jada. He was offended when she asked him not to do anything to Will Smith from a standpoint not to be violent towards him. Napoleon continued, "I think that just hurt him more than anything because he was like, what do you think this is? I'm not walking around being this impulsive, violent individual." So I think that probably hurt his feelings at the particular time. Jada and Tupac's relationship also trended on June 16th, which would have been the rapper's 50th birthday, after she took to Instagram to honor him by sharing an unreleased poem he wrote. If you recall correctly, Will has also spoken about being in the same room with Tupac, admitting that he didn't handle it well because he was deeply insecure at the time. "We were in the room together a couple of times and I couldn't speak to him."
You know, Jada Pinkett and Pac, they was very close, very, very close. I remember when I first came around Pac, Jada Pinkett was in a movie. It might have been the first movie she ever
and he wasn't going to speak to me if I wasn't going to speak to him, Will said in an interview with The Breakfast Club at the top of 2020 while promoting Bad Boys for Life. Jada would say all the time, "I'm telling you, y'all are so similar. You'll love him." And I just never. That was a huge regret of mine, that I couldn't handle it. I was the soft rapper from Philly and he was Pac. I was deeply, deeply insecure and I wasn't man enough to handle that relationship. Of course, Black Twitter jumped right on it with the commentary and memes. Most obviously, the Will Smith cry face from his hugely popular appearance on Red Table Talk regarding Jada's entanglement. Number 3, why did she fear Tupac hurting Will? That's a question that we know Tupac himself asked, but for those who aren't fully familiar with the rapper during his prime, there was a legit reason for Jada asking the question. You see,
and we was in Atlanta and he just said we going to the movies, and we went to the movies. And I'm a kid, and I'm like, this movie boring as hell, you know what I mean? But Pac just was staring at the, the screen.
Not unlike in recent times, the rap world back in Tupac's prime was a very violent place. In fact, there was a war going on between the West Coast rappers and the East Coast rappers for dominance of the brand, and they weren't afraid to go and pull guns and other weapons to try to get their point across. And a lot of rappers lost their lives, including Tupac and Biggie Smalls, by the end of it. Plus, it's true that Tupac had a deep respect for Jada, and she clearly respected him enough to ask him to not hurt Will. You could understand why she would at least want to ask. Will was from Philly, which is East Coast, and Jada was in a way picking a side by choosing to be with Will, despite the fact that he was on the West Coast at the time and being the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Being very focused, and then after the movie was over, I think a couple days later, I heard him mention it to someone that he knew the actress, which is Jada Pinkett. Later on, she became a star.
So seeing the violence that was going down in the rap world that both were in, and the fact that she likely knew that rappers could get jealous and insecure, as Will himself admitted that he did, it was honestly a bit fair for him to be asked to not hurt Will. The last thing he wanted was her friend and her boyfriend coming to blows over her, or for Tupac to order his crew to rattle him for one reason or another, which they totally would have done if Tupac had given the signal. In the end, we'll never know what really would have happened, but it just goes to show you that sometimes, sadly, some stories you don't hear until later are tragic. Number 2, Willow's tale of Jada's life being threatened. Willow Smith spoke about the hate and death threats that her mother Jada Pinkett Smith received while on tour with her band Wicked Wisdom.
So Pac was upset. He was like, I don't know why she think that I would have tried to make some problems with Will Smith. So I guess it kind of hurt him that, you know what I mean? He had a lot of love for Jada.
Where she was the front woman. It was intense racism and sexism just packed onto the tens. Willow, who went on tour with her mother when she was a child, told French fashion magazine Elle Officielle. People giving her death threats, throwing glass at her on stage. Some crazy stuff went down when she was touring with her band, she added. Willow, who's now a musician herself, admitted that what she saw as a child still affects her. I got to see that hate firsthand, she added. It was so scary to me.
He was very upset, you know what I mean? Pac came in the room, he's like, man, Jada, she gonna contact me and tell me don't do nothing to Will Smith. So Pac was upset.
And I think I internalized a little bit. However, seeing her mother handle those situations taught her how to handle her own insecurities. The 20-year-old singer told Elle Officielle, every time I feel that coming on, I just go back to my memories of my mom and how she would deal with actual physical danger. She just rose above it. Obviously she was scared, but she really showed me what womaning up really was by taking a stance and not being afraid of other people's judgments and perceptions. I really wanted to just go within that place in myself and try something new, regardless of what my insecurities were, Willow continued. Today, Willow is still making music after debuting with her hit song, Whip My Hair. The singer released Transparent Soul featuring Travis Barker back in April.
Jada Pinkett and Will Smith dating and talking at that time.
Was he cool with them? He had no other choice, I think. You know what I mean? I think Pac respected Jada Pinkett so much where that was her choice.
And for Mother's Day earlier this year, Willow surprised her mother with a performance with her mother's band, Wicked Wisdom, to pay homage. During an episode on the Facebook Watch series Red Table Talk, which they host with Jada's mother, Adrienne Banfield Norris, Willow sang Bleed All Over Me with Wicked Wisdom's former members, Pocket Honor and Taylor Graves. Smith told Elle Officielle of her music, I just wanted to fulfill that desire that I had ever since I was 10 or 12 of being a black woman singing rock music. Number one, dealing with racism.
And he was the type of person that he's going to, you know what I mean? He's going to support her. You know, he like I said, he was offended when she asked him not to do anything to Will Smith.
Jada Pinkett Smith, sadly, is no stranger to having to deal with racism, both from without and within. And by within, we mean her own community. As she noted on Red Table Talk in the past, she's had to deal with people within her own community, questioning her judgment about things like raising her kids, how they should look and act, and what is acceptable within the community. She even noted that every community has standards that they try and enforce on others, even when it's not just or right or fair, and it proves that everyone sees things different and try to impose their wills on others as a result. That's why when it came to how she handled her life and how she raised her kids, she wouldn't listen to others.
You know, anything, you know, because he was like, what do you think this is? I'm not like just walking around being, you know, this impulsive, violent individual. So I think that probably kind of hurt.
But rather focus on her experiences and what her kids were feeling and what they truly needed versus what others perceived that they needed. Jada doesn't always get the respect she deserves, and that's sad because she's clearly a very wise woman, one who knows more than people will admit. And if you don't believe us, believe her family, because they love her very much. Or at the very least, one of them loves her enough to sing her tracks on her show. Just saying. And there you have it, everyone, a look at the situation that apparently went down between Jada and Tupac years ago. Do you believe that this story actually happened? How do you think Will Smith should take this? And what about the other story of Jada and the hate that she faced while trying to do her music career? Do you think she still feels that hate today? Go ahead and let me know what you think in the comments down below. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time on the channel.
His feelings at that particular time, you know.
Shock G, what was your reaction when you found out the news that Shock G passed away?
Wow, Shock G, man, his passing, you know what I mean? And it was sad, bro. You know what I mean? It was sad to the point where, you know, many of us from that era, you know, from the Tupac, from the Outlaws, you know, from this era, the homies, like people that's close to us, you know, unfortunately, it's not too many of us alive. You know, even though death is written for every one of us, we're all going to return to our creator. But it's sad, you know what I mean? When you know someone and you have some type of relationship with that individual and you're not even in touch with them. You know what I mean? Sometimes we wait until a person pass away, and then we start saying, man, I wish I would have reached out to him. You know what I mean? So of course I went through that. Same thing with Big Sight. You know what I mean? Big Sight was my homie. You know what I mean? Shock G, it was a lot of love there, a lot of respect there. You know, the first time that I met Shock G is when Tupac flew us to his wedding. I think that was 25 years ago, maybe even longer, to Oakland. You know what I mean? So it was one of them things that I wish I was able to reach out to him before he passed away. But, you know, everything is written, and what can we do?
Tupac joining Death Row, why wasn't he around Shock G and Money B anymore once he joined Death Row?
Good question. Why was he around? Why Tupac wasn't around Shock G and Money B anymore? That's a good question. And after he joined Death Row, a lot of people don't realize that Pac was only on Death Row for about 1 year. You know what I mean? He was only on Death Row Records for a year. So when he came home, he probably wasn't around a lot of people that he was seen with before he went to Death Row Records, because Pac came home and the first thing he did, not only was he did 2 movies or 3 movies, he was in a recording studio every day. They did a little tour. Pac was a busy individual. You know, I know for a fact that he still had love for Shock G and Money B. That never changed. His love for them never changed.